September 13th, 2011. We've lived through some momentous times lately, and dates which will go down in history and already have. 9/11 and September 11th for the Battle of Plattsburgh, and another great-grandchild of mine was born on 9/10/11. So I have lots of dates to remember.
Yep.
We're at 80 Sharon Avenue at the North Country Center for Independence with our dear longtime friend, Andrew Pulrang. How are you?
I'm terrific, Gordy. How are you?
I am terrific too. As executive director for this wonderful organization, you and I have had that relationship for a long time, since the radio days.
That's right. Since you were at Wiry.
How long has this organization been in existence?
It started in 1988.
Is that possible?
Yeah, it's
Oh
hard.
my
Doesn't
goodness,
seem like
you were
that, but
only
yes.
7.
That's right. I was a little older than that. Yeah. No, it
Is
started
it
in
1988 already? And has undergone an amazing metamorphosis over the years. It's changed a lot from those humble beginnings. Where was it when it started?
It was at 159 Margaret, which we used to call the old Grain Union building.
Oh my goodness,
I'm not
I
sure that
almost
needs work
forgot
anymore.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't call that the old Grand Union.
Nobody will know
building.
what you're talking about
No,
anymore.
that's gone through many changes
Yes,
too.
yes.
So what, were you there at the beginning?
Was I? No. I was there about a year later. No, a couple of years, a year and a half
How
later.
did that happen?
Well, my mother was on the original board of directors,
I forgot that too.
and she was on for a little while, and then, so she got to know about the organization. And I started working just for a summer, because I was going to graduate school, and I I didn't know much about it, but I started working during the summer and became very, very interested in what the mission is and its approach to disability issues. And being a person with disabilities myself, it kind of got me thinking in a different way about all that.
Your mother and father were both advocates of the first order. Your mother was.
Yes.
Your mother was amazing.
Yes, she was. She was advocates for, and my father and mother were both active and advocates for a lot of different issues and causes. Interestingly, I think that they didn't as much, they were advocates for me personally, but they weren't heavily into disability issues for most of the time. It was actually getting to know the center was something new for my mom too. It got her thinking in a different way about disability as well, which
Nobody,
was interesting.
nobody advocated more than your parents did. Your father, as I reminded Andrew as we walked in here, his father, Dr. Peter Pulrang,
Yep.
was my first pediatrician 50 years ago.
Yep.
When I landed in Plattsburgh and started in the radio business, and they took care of their son, didn't they?
They did.
I mean,
They
how
took care of
much-
both of their sons.
How much do you owe the memory of your parents?
Everything. Yeah, my whole outlook, the way I look at the world, I think, the way I deal with issues like disability and other things, politics, everything.
Had you not had your mom and dad as parents,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we'd be sitting here, Andrew, would we?
Well, it's hard for anybody to say, I guess, but I don't know. I think my life would be different. I had opportunities that probably other people don't have. And, I grew up in an environment where getting a good education was expected, where, reading and learning about the world was just for fun, and that helps a lot. It really does. It makes a big difference.
So you got involved with North Country Center for Independence almost from the beginning, if you
Very
were here
close.
a year later.
Yep, that's right.
And tell us a little bit about its changes over the years.
Well, we have moved a couple of times to different locations.
Yes, I know that.
We're at a new location today. I think we've changed a little bit along with how the issues of disability have changed. We're more active now in some programs that are directly involved in helping people obtain assistance, and I mean physical assistance, to help them in everyday life. We have a consumer-directed personal care program where people can basically hire their own aides, even though if they're on Medicaid, they're being paid for, like ordinary home care. They do the choosing of who helps them take a bath or get out of bed, get dressed, or cook a meal, or whatever they need help with. And that's sort of a new type of way of getting home care that we're involved with and have been over the last few years. And that's a really important thing that I think that we do.
Has there been somewhat of an awakening in recent years, thanks to your diligent efforts and those of others like you around the country?
I think there has been. You can look back when the center first started in 1988, and you take just a couple of years after that, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed.
Right.
That was the first, from the center's point of view, that was kind of the first big event, big thing that happened in the world that changed our outlook and changed the game, if you will. It was a real marker that's announced to the whole country that people with disabilities had civil rights, that they should have equal opportunity as other people did. And so that was an important moment, and it's not something that we deal with every day. It's not something that comes up every day, that law, but it forms the backdrop of the idea of civil rights for us and equal opportunity.
Do you find that there's more compliance here in Clinton County and in Plattsburgh than in the past? Is it still a struggle?
There is, and I think there are some businesses and some facilities that have definitely really made an effort to become more accessible. I would say the majority of improvement, though, is because when new things are built, they are much more easily made accessible, and they're required to be. So over time, as naturally new buildings get built, new developments are put up in different parts of our county, those places are almost always very, very accessible. And just accumulated over time, there's more and more choices of restaurants and stores and places that you can go that are wheelchair accessible.
Why did it take so long?
Wow. Well, I think part of it is the, if you will, the infrastructure, the community that we live in. There's a lot of old buildings. If you go to downtown Plattsburgh, that's most of the places that are located on Margaret Street, Durkee Street, the older part of Plattsburgh. Those are old buildings that were built long, long before any concerns about accessibility. And it's harder to do improvements on them than it is, say, if you built a brand new structure, say in a place like this, like in a strip mall or something like that. So it's harder, literally, physically, to make the changes. It can be more expensive. And so that's going to take a very long time before that either gets worked out by the places finally being improved or are replaced. And so I think that's one reason.
But there is progress, a lot of progress,
There is.
especially over the last 20 years or more.
Yes.
And how large a group do you have working with you here at the center?
We have a staff of 10, and we have a couple of people that work off-site doing different things, but a total of 10 at this point.
And you serve the entire population of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
But that's a word that a lot of able-bodied folks just don't understand. Would you like to define it in broad terms for us?
And even some people with disabilities we're not fully
True.
sure about what it means. We tend to define disability as any kind of physical or mental impairment that affects our daily life activities in some way, that creates an impairment of some kind. It's not to say that we can't necessarily do everything that we want to do, but it's something that gets in the way where we have to figure out other ways of doing it. And it can be physical, it can be mental, or it can be both, cognitive, also people with visual impairments, hearing impairments, anything about how your body is set up. If there's an impairment that's significant, then we call that a disability.
You've always done everything you wanted to do, Andrew. You are an amazing and wonderful person, and
nobody
in my
does.
eyes, you're
Quite.
27 feet tall.
Well, I've done a lot of things, and like I said before, I've been very fortunate to have opportunities that many other people, whether disabled or not, have not had. But having said that, yeah, adaptation is the key for anybody with a disability. Adapting to whatever your disability is, as best you can.
So for people watching this program who never heard of the North Country Center for Independence, number one, shame on you, because you've been preaching the gospel for a long, long time. But
Yep.
number two, this place is accessible in the broadest sense of the term for people with disabilities, or for people who just want to learn more about how they can help.
Exactly right, Cordy. I mean, that's really important what you just said, because, we can forget and talk about who do you serve. Oh, people with different disabilities. We serve the entire community. Family members, people who have a family member with a disability, a child, a spouse, an aging parent, for instance, and professionals, people in the community, teachers, business owners, anybody that wants to deal with disability issues. We are here to help.
Because there are a lot of people who just don't know where to turn.
That's right.
It's the definition of the word distress, frustration, embarrassment,
Can be.
and many other adjectives we could apply.
Yep.
So you, because you're so concerned about this community and people with disabilities, have a lot of the answers
Yep.
readily available for
That's right.
people who want them and need them. So how do they get into contact with you?
Okay. Well, you can call us. Should I give the number?
Of course you
All right.
can.
It's 563-9058. And you could call us. That's probably how most people begin to get in touch with us. We also have a website.
It's a great website and getting better almost daily.
Yeah, it's www.ncci-online.com.
And you can hook up with that website and have them send you notices about every.
Yep.
I know every time you have lunch, I'll tell you that.
That's right.
Just about.
Pretty much, yeah.
I love it.
That's right. You can get our we have a weekly bulletin, and some other bulletins that come out, action alerts, disability issues, so you can get on that mailing list. It's another way. And of course, you can visit us here at the center.
Now, this is 80 Sharon Avenue.
Yes, it is.
You smell newness when you
Yeah.
walk in the door.
Yep.
You smell new paint and so on. How did
Right.
this whole transition take place?
Well, we needed to move out of our old place. We were actually sort of, in a way, victims of the floods in the spring. We had some groundwater issues and stuff that was not going to be able to be repaired the way they needed to be. So we were very lucky to find that this place was open. It used to be a credit union, Danamore Credit Union, I believe.
I forgot that.
Yeah, and we went called the owner, Scott O'Brien, and had a look around, and I think all of us kind of felt like this was the place. And it's different from the way it is now, because they did a lot of work on it for us, but the space was just about right for our needs.
Is this a bit more space than you've ever had, isn't it?
I think so. It's pretty close
Is it?
to what we had before.
It just looks
it's
so
laid out
beautiful and open.
Yeah, it's laid out differently, and it makes a difference to, of course, how it feels and how we're able to use it. And of course, when you move, you do have a chance to kind of think about how you want things laid out. And we're still in the process of moving in. We've only been in the rest of the place for about a week.
Oh, a week?
Yeah.
Because you were pretty well operated out of one or two rooms here for a long time.
Yeah, we had to kind of camp out while the rest of it was
Did you really? That's
being renovated. So.
yeah. It's not too well designated physically outside.
Not
Calvin
yet.
had trouble finding the
Yeah.
address as he drove by. I've got that wonderful new technological device called a GPS. It said, "You
Oh, yeah.
are here." And I looked
Exactly.
over and saw the sign, and I said, "I guess I am here."
There it is. Well, we're going to have a sign out on the street
You are.
before too long, so you'll be able to see it a little easier. But for reference point, we're right next to the VA clinic. Conifer Park is just down the road from that. And the ice arena is over there.
Hockey rink, yeah.
Yeah, the hockey rink
The
right
hockey
here.
rink. So, for people and close to Skyway. So everybody knows
It's
where
in
that
the
is.
south end of Plattsburgh for people
Yeah.
who may be in the environs or in the hinterlands, as we say.
Mhm.
It's on the south end, not far, as a matter of fact, adjacent to Plattsburgh, the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base.
That's right.
Skyway Shopping Center. Sharon Avenue is familiar to people who've lived in this town for a while, but we just want to give them some reference points.
Yep, that's
And
right.
if you put 80 Sharon Avenue into your GPS, it'll almost bring you right in the driveway.
Yeah, it actually does pretty good on that. But yes, that's where we are.
So are you still working on the place, or is it now pretty well the way you want it?
Well, it's pretty much the way we want it, other than a few details like the sign and getting the lines painted out front for the parking. We're gonna have handicap parking all along the front, and that has to be painted and signage put up. We've got some interior signs and things to put up, but that's all pretty much in our hands now to do our finishing work, the little details, moving stuff around, and to make it as usable as possible for everybody.
For people who've never had any personal contact with you or with this organization, I'm sure they're thrilled by what they've learned here today. Do you have regular meetings or regular events? Talk about that a little bit.
We have some. It depends on the season. During the summer, we have cookouts on the Fridays,
Oh, I like that.
where we just have some burgers and hot dogs and chat and talk about stuff and have people who come who are friends of ours, people who may be new. Last winter, we also did a kind of a movie series where we would show films.
Oh.
And they were always films that had some relation to disability. So, we picked a list of, I think we showed 6 films. We showed them every other Friday, so it stretched it out over the winter. We do that type of thing. We also, periodically, we will schedule training series for groups on different topics, personal finance, understanding personal care, just general independent living skills. So, they're not, we reschedule them every time and we set dates ahead of time. And those run in kind of cycles. A 4-week class or an 8-week class, 12-week class, depending on the topic.
So how big is your potential list of people who take advantage of your services in the area? Have you ever tried to assess it?
But we have to every year. We have to report
Of
the
course,
numbers of people
of
we
course
serve
you
and stuff like that. We serve between 900 and 1,000 different people a year.
Is that possible?
Now
Wow.
that takes in people that may have a quick phone call, or people that we just have a couple of questions and may not need anything more, as well as people that see us on a more frequent basis. So that 1,000 people isn't all like really, really frequent, but it's a way to measure the fact that the breadth of the people that we encounter.
But
in
the
our work.
potential group has got to be much larger than that.
Oh yeah, the
Some
population.
people just don't know, or they choose not to take advantage.
That's very true. That's very true. And I think a lot of human service agencies find the same thing, which is people usually do not learn about something until something happens and they need to.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes. I think it's human nature. I
guess
cry,
you're
I don't
right.
cry about it too much, as long as when we're there when they need us. I love it when people learn ahead of time, especially when it comes to disability and aging, and people are getting older, starting to plan ahead for things like your home accessibility. I think a lot of people do that. Even if they're not impaired at the time, they start thinking about, do I want to have to climb those stairs every night to go to bed? Maybe my next home or my next setup should be 1 floor. Stuff like that. That's good thinking ahead. And some more and more people, I think, are doing that.
Andrew, you're the executive director and have been for some time. And there's a regular hierarchy.
Yep.
Next in line is my good friend Michael Gagnier.
That's right.
As assistant.
That's right, absolutely. Yep, he's a great guy. He's been here a good long time too, in different capacities, and he's my right hand man. He's here to deal with the staff and help keep things running smoothly. He also does a lot of stuff with the consumer-directed personal care program that I mentioned. He and Deborah Piper work on that a good deal of most of the days, keeping that going, maintaining that.
I'm sure people who are watching this program and excited about the things you've talked about have no idea how you're funded. Does the money just fall from the sky?
Oh,
you
right,
pick it
yeah.
off a tree?
Oh, it's no problem at all. No, yeah, we are funded by a number of different sources. The major source is the New York State Education Department.
Right.
The vocational rehabilitation sector of that, it's called Access. They have a funding, they handle the funding that the state legislature allocates every year. It goes to independent living centers. There are more than just this center. There's 40 independent living centers around New York State that are similar to this.
40?
40
That's
that
a good-
serve different regions. And we all get pretty much that, a main operating grant from them to do the work that we do. But we also go out and, when opportunities arise, to get grants to do special projects that are in line with our mission. We work hard at that. And we do accept donations from individuals.
Always accept donations.
Yeah, we're a nonprofit like any other, and we do accept donations. And always on the lookout for new opportunities to do what we do.
So there is not another organization like yours within how many miles?
The nearest ones, like ours, there's a center in Saranac Lake, Tri-Lakes Center for Independent Living. There is a center in Messina, the Messina Independent Living Center. And there is a center in Glens Falls, the Southern Adirondack Independent Living.
Is it a network?
It is a network. We all communicate with each other. We all have essentially the same type of missions. Each one does things slightly differently depending on the needs of their local community, but we have the same outlook, philosophy, same basic set of services. So yeah, we communicate a lot. And that's something that's changed since we started. In 1988, I was doing email in 1988, but I was in college, and colleges were doing email before most others.
They certainly
but
were.
Now, it's amazing. It's hard to think how could we have communicated as much, because now it's so easy to maintain connections with a network between websites and chat boards and Facebook pages and email. We can share information very, very easily now.
So that's what I was originally trying to determine, whether you serve Clinton, Essex, and Franklin, or Clinton and parts of Essex, or how that works.
Right, what you just said. It's Clinton and parts of Essex. The Tri-Lakes Center serves the Tri-Lakes area, which includes, of course, bits of Essex County, but we do all of Clinton and, Willsboro, Westport, all the way down to Ticonderoga.
Do you get a chance to travel, or do you pretty much stay here?
I travel here and there. One of the things that we've recently done, one of our programs is called the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, where we have volunteers that go and visit nursing homes and help people resolve complaints or problems that they might have about how things are going. We've been doing that for Clinton County for over 10 years, probably 12, and we recently took on doing it in Essex County as well. So Alan Bayshard, who's on our staff, who is the coordinator of that program, he's doing a lot more traveling now, because he has to now go down to Essex County and connect with the nursing homes there, get to know a whole new bunch of people. So it depends on the situation. Another person that travels a lot is John Farley, our accessibility consultant, because of course, to look at accessibility of a business or a home, you have to go there. So he'll go out, make appointments, go out and visit people's homes and give them advice on what to do and help them figure out how to do it.
It's certainly comforting for people with disabilities to know that there's an Andrew Pulrang and an organization called the North Country Center for Independence located at here on Sharon Avenue in Plattsburgh. And I know it's comforting for you to have achieved the goals that you have over the years. What is I don't know how high you're up the ladder, what you anticipate happening before the end of this year and into the new year, 2012. Any big plans?
We have an open house that we're going to have for our new place.
Good, we beat them.
On October 28th.
Oh, really?
Yes. And we're going to invite everybody that we know and everybody that we don't know to come and have a look at our new digs, and also in the process maybe get to know the center a little better. That's a Friday the 28th of October, and we'll be having more notices of that, so to remind people that it's happening. And we're looking forward to doing that, and going forward into the winter, possibly having more of the film series idea, which is nice because it's a good way to get out of the house a little bit during the winter, and yet it's still kind of warm and cozy activity to do. And we're also going to be re-examining our Independent Living Academy series, which is the independent living skills courses that I talked about. We're going to kind of go back and re-examine how we do that, what topics we cover. We want to make sure that the topics that we pick are the ones that people actually care about. So we're asking people to give feedback. What do you want to learn about? We don't need to waste your time on stuff that you don't need to know. You want to spend the time and your time on things that you want to learn about. So that's another thing that we've been working on.
This is your conference room, your meeting room?
It's going to be,
and will remain that way?
Yes.
It would be the envy of a lot of organizations. This is a nice space here.
Oh, yeah, and it was exactly like this when we came.
No kidding.
We didn't have to do anything to it, except maybe a little work on the bathroom. But other than that, it was perfect, and that's one of the things that attracted us to it.
That's great.
Ideal.
Well, we've sat and chatted for a while. We'll take a little walking tour around the building, and then we'll wrap it up outside. What do you say?
Sounds good.
I love it.
Okay.
We didn't move an inch, Andrew and me, but Calvin had a few very interesting questions, so we'll go down.
Sure.
We'll go down what the questions might have been. You had a couple of things that you wanted to mention, and you talked about AmeriCorps, and I haven't even heard about it for a while, so tell me about your connection.
Well, AmeriCorps is the national service program that several years ago there was an act of AmeriCorps in our area.
Yes.
People basically spend a year doing work for local causes or local projects, and they get a stipend. It's a learning experience for them, and then at the end they get a grant for education. So a lot of people who do it are younger, but people of all ages can do it. And the AmeriCorps program is restarting in our area right now, and it's being coordinated by over at One WorkSource. And they asked agencies to, if they would like to have an AmeriCorps person. So we said yes, and so we'll be having somebody do work on our new Veterans Outreach project. We have a grant to do outreach to veterans with disabilities, because that's a community that we should have a strong connection with, that we traditionally haven't had as much contact with for whatever reason, and we want to reach out and get to understand what their needs are, what their priorities are, and let them know that we're here to assist them as well.
In terms of the organization, Calvin mentioned this, and I knew about it because I had seen it on your website. I've known you for a long time, but there's another aspect to the organization. Besides the employees, you have a very strong board of directors.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. We have a board of directors. There are 10 people on it right now. We're looking to make it 11. And our board president is named Doug DeRocher. He's somebody you've probably met a couple of times around the community.
Oh, lots of times.
Yeah, and he's our president, and we have a good, strong board. By the statute of our center, the way it's set up and the way all independent living centers are set up, at least half of our boards of directors have to be people with some kind of disability. That's part of what defines an independent living center.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, and because that's the idea. And the same with the staff. Basically, you don't have to have a disability to work here, but more than half of the staff generally have to have some sort of disability, so that we bring our own experiences to bear. The board brings its personal experiences to bear in deciding the general direction of the center, and the staff brings our experience to bear in the day-to-day operations. So it works out pretty good.
Calvin had another question. When we shut the camera off for a moment,
Yeah.
Calvin always, as an observer, he's
Sure.
and as a curious observer, he always has a couple of questions that don't come to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many things that we may not have thought about.
Yeah.
Calvin's question was about surprise. What would people, are there people who would be surprised about what you can do for them?
One thing that people are often surprised, well, two things. One is, again, and I keep mentioning, is the Consumer Directed Personal Assistance Program, that we're involved in helping people get care in their home. The other thing that often we get surprised about is that we help people who have disabilities who are considering going to work, getting a job. Maybe they had a job before and haven't had for a while, or maybe they never have, but are afraid of losing benefits that they might be getting, like Medicaid or Social Security. There are actually provisions of those programs that are designed to allow you to go to work and test going to work without immediately losing your benefits. Because Social Security figured out a long time ago that this was a barrier to people's employment. And they would rather see you get on your feet and become more self-sufficient in the long run, even if that means them supporting you for a little while you're also getting paid. So the simple way of putting that is you don't necessarily have to lose all your support if you go back to work. And it is to encourage people with disabilities to push their abilities and to be as productive and active as possible.
And why not?
Yeah.
And why not? I'm
not,
sure
indeed.
those are questions that many people have never thought about or have been afraid
Yep.
to test the water, as you said.
Absolutely. So, if anybody with a disability or even a family member, they're curious, they're thinking about, maybe I'd like to go back to work or explore a new career option, we can certainly help you explore that. Get the services to get geared up for that, and also to figure out how that would affect your benefits.
Before we hit the road and look around this place a little more, is there any other aspect of the North Country Center for Independence, any other programs or planned programs that you'd like to touch on? Anything that's come to your mind where you've said, Gordy
No.
didn't ask me the right question?
I think we've covered it all. I would just reiterate that the people we serve is a very broad range of people. There's no population of disabled folks that we do not have a concern with and serve. So, that's another thing to remember, that and sometimes we get surprised on that too. People who have a certain kind of disability learn that we might help them, and they think, oh, I didn't realize that you dealt with that too. Well, yes, anything to do with disability, we will try to do. And if we can't help you directly, part of what we do is help you find the other resources in the community.
Well, you have the references. I know that. You can refer people
Yep.
to many other organizations. When I said network before, I wasn't kidding.
Oh, yeah. And
Thank goodness this whole thing is very ecumenical now, rather than
It is.
parochial.
It is. And in fact, the North Country, I would say, relatively speaking, is pretty well connected and well served by various agencies. I've talked to people from other parts of the state that might have even a larger population or seemingly more resources than you would think or that they would think. and yet are kind of impressed to realize that we have
They should.
transportations,
Of
you know,
course.
in various things, and they, you know, there are a lot of pluses of being in the North Country.
We like to be the envy of other people, and even though especially during our recent storms, including Irene, et cetera, and our floods in the spring, we're kind of, I won't say overlooked, but bypassed by the national media, who kind of forget that there is
That's right.
there is a New York State above the Catskills and above
That's true.
Albany.
That's
And
true.
so part of our goal is to let the world know, hey, we're up here.
That's
And
right.
one of the reasons is not because we're so vain about what we do, but sometimes there are funding avenues and things that require knowing about us.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, we, like everyone else, we occasionally, being part of a statewide network, obviously we do run into that situation of people having only a vague idea of where we are. On the other hand, you know, I have to say, you talked with the floods and about Irene. We got an email from my counterpart in the Independent Living Center in Manhattan. We got an email
really?
the Friday afternoon before the storm, and she had sent this out to her network, but you know, we're all on each other's lists, so we know what each other's doing. And she had put out this email saying, here's a checklist. If you know the storm is coming, if you have a disability and you live in New York City, here are things to know, and you know, make sure you have medications. And it was kind of a helpful get ready thing. And then after the storm, she sent an email out to the other centers describing that she had gone to various shelters to check on were they accessible, were they able to handle people with disabilities, and it was very interesting to read about that. So we like to read about what goes on in other places too.
So let's hope they like to read about us up here.
Oh, they do.
In the far
Yeah.
reaches of the northeastern corner of New York State.
Yeah,
Because we do a lot of important things,
Indeed.
and that's why Calvin and I are so hep on turning a spotlight on organizations like the North Country Center for Independence.
Yep,
Because it's not something we think about
that's right.
unless we have a need.
That's right.
Even if we do have a need, we may not think about it. So.
That's right. So please do.
All right, let's take a walk.
That's great.
All
Let's
right.
do that.
It doesn't take people long to find you when they walk in the door here, because your office is right there.
Right.
I didn't even have the door closed before you were out there to greet me this morning.
Yep.
So you got the bird's eye view on the world.
I guess I
way
do.
down at the other end.
Yep, absolutely. I guess I do.
So how many actual rooms are there in here?
You know, I'm not sure. Haven't counted them up.
It's like a maze when you walk in, but it's easy to find. Do you bring
Yes.
most people in a certain office when they come in, or how does that work?
Well, most people, well, it's hard to say. We just moved in.
Oh.
So exactly how all the flow.
Take me
is
to
gonna
your
be.
bathroom.
But I think mostly it depends on who they're here to see.
I see.
If they're not sure about what they are looking for, they would probably go to our main desk here where Mike Gagner would usually be, and he would say, what can I do for you? And they would go from there. Other staff have individual offices.
Oh, I see. Sure.
And we said, you know, that's kind of important because we want to make sure to have a door that can be closed where you can have a private conversation. And people can, if they feel like they want to talk about something more personal and, you know, they want that privacy, we can have that for them.
Andrew, I forgot to ask you what your hours are. When are you open?
Oh, we're open from 8 to 4 every weekday.
So, Saturday and Sunday off.
Saturday and Sunday off. I mean, occasionally we'll have some sort of an event that might happen on
Sure.
a weekend, but basically it's we're not here on the weekends. But Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
So, once again, what's the main telephone number?
It's 563-9058.
And the website?
www.ncci-online.com.
Easy enough. And if they
Yes.
happen to type in their search engine, North Country Center for Independence, you can
That'll-
get here from there.
Actually, yes. If you type the name into your engine search, you'll get it.
All right.
No problem.
we love your new digs.
I do too.
That's your word and my word too. It's great new digs.
Yep.
I know you anticipated this for a long time, Andrew.
Indeed, we did. And it's worked out really well so far, and we're still settling in, but we're open for business.
I love it. We're going to take a look outside, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Very good.
Calvin Castine is such a genius with the camera. He's giving us a far-off view, which hopefully will allow for some perspective. You know, I've been around here for such a long time, Andrew, that these new so-called landmarks, the old landmarks are gone.
They don't quite work the way they used to, I guess.
Isn't it great? But you can see the neighborhood here on Sharon Avenue. This is actually a little, I don't know if you'd call it a strip mall anymore, but there are several things in here, right next door to the VA.
Right?
And it's a good thing you have a nice big sign on the front. You're going to put one out by the road very soon that shows where you are at 80 Sharon Avenue.
That's right. Yep. Out on the signpost out there, you'll see our logo and our sign, something like that, right from the street.
You have to be pleased to be at this point.
Oh yeah.
In your new place.
Absolutely. It's a great place.
Yeah.
Very, very happy with it.
It's going to be a great day. Once again, I have to extend my thanks to Andrew for his friendship, to his mom and dad for all they meant to him and to me personally and to so many thousands of others. And they'd be smiling. I know they'd be smiling.
I think so. I think so.
I know how much they gave you and to us, and I'm forever grateful for them and to you for inviting us here today and for all you do. Please extend our congratulations to everybody involved in this place.
I will definitely do that, and thank you very much, Gordy, for all you do.
It's a delight to be here, and I'm sure Calvin echoes that immensely. And thank our viewers for watching this program every week. And for people who might see this the first time we run it, the open house will again be in October.
October 28th. That will be a Friday, last Friday in October, in the afternoon, and come and visit and have a look at our place.
North Country Center for Independence, 80 Sharon Avenue in Plattsburgh. Thank you all for your comments and suggestions. Thank you especially if you sit down after this program or during the end of it and write out a generous check for $50,000 or 50 cents to Calvin Castine in care of Hometown Cable on the Ridge Road in Champlain. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.